Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, none. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Pray and pray, and thou shalt prepare a table for me in front of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over.
Yeah, each goal we meet just expose the weak. Why you think they praying on me like a rosary? Well, saw me out so discreet. You ain't spoke a beat. Still I heard they praying on me like a rosary. Lord, when the flow unique, friends and foes compete. That's why they praying on me like a rosary. Look to God for your soul to keep before you go to sleep. Still they praying on me like a rosary. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. To hear from hoping that I hallowed be my friend. The heat bang, my body drop those beaters banging on me. Lying from the Tommy just like Peter Brand. In Jesus' name they point their name and blasphemy, but that's for me. Rap G.O.D. I'm at the mass like Catholic Greeks. Feel like Pac, me against the world, just me and my girlfriend into the world. And at least I make it out this world. We're all Category 5, twisted diggler in the eye. Calm as ever, flicking pictures, sipping as I light up. Cool. Remember reading right on write-ups, putting posters on my wall, all those who make me pick the mic up. Since I did, it's like I can't tell which one of these niggas mic up. Working with the feds, but this kind of life excites us. Surrounded by these Judases trying to do me in. More niggas watching with the 9 and UPN. I'm saying, yeah, each goal we meet just expose the weak. Why you think they praying on me like a rosary? You saw me out so discreet. You ain't spoke a piece. Still I heard they praying on me like a rosary. When the flow unique, friends and folks compete. That's why they praying on me like a rope. I heard the word, God, for your soul to keep before you go to sleep. Still they praying on me like a rope. Niggas pray on my downfall like a kid. What it is, this shit about up that make them hate. The finish straight when I'm around, y'all just in the air. They only care when that ground fall. Niggas pray on my downfall like a kid. What it is, this shit about up that I don't know. The finish straight when I'm around. It's so strange, they only care when that ground fall. In Hail Mary, bumping Hail Mary. Dr. Belly Pop prepared me for this hell, Harry. Come with me. I'm resurrecting rap, run quick, see for they gun click squeeze. They aim and magnify at the Black Messiah till I'm preaching to the mass choir out of Zechariah. But these off the rabbits, no papyrus off the Irish. Heard that is a Jersey kid who brought punches like I'm fighting. Silent murder, silent burners, dropping sermons like a priest for the streets. Quiet mergers, signing curse until we eat. Who would love if this my last supper? Stand with your chest if you mad, fuck up. Let it be no scrap. Either way, I want my throne back. All this Satan, I don't condone it. Lord, all these newbies hitting my phone wag. Tell them no, it's hitters at your home. Yeah, Lord. Yeah, each goal we meet just expose the weak. Yeah. Why you think they praying on me like a rosary? Saw me out so discreet. You ain't spoke a piece. Still I heard they praying on me like a rosary. I hear you. When the flow unique, friends and folks compete. That's why they praying on me like a rosary. Look to God for your soul to keep before you go to sleep. Still they praying on me like a rosary.
For everyone who doesn't know, that's my homie Doc Stigler. He has a new single. I loved it. It's kind of brings up that whole intel is from the underworld. As you know, peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. This is again FleurBrun coming to you today with a new topic of discussion. As you know, I've traveled to the underworld and I have great intel. And that song is kind of like in the genre, talking about the rosary, using biblical terms to kind of bring me into that zone and that feeling, that vibration of blowing spots. So I'm grateful you joined me today. Thanks for everyone joining on the show last night, Aquarius Rising. It was really interesting. It was really quite fascinating. It opened a lot of conversations to many different topics or aspects of Hollyweird that many of you would never even think was possible. So I always think it's great to have a conversation open. Sounds like the original Gun Clappers. Does it? That's Doc Stigler. So that's Doc Stigler's new song. I really appreciate it. It's called Rosary. And it's actually from the motion picture First Lady. So I really was feeling that. I was in, in that midst of what it was. Yeah, it's dope. I feel the vibration was great. So listen, family. So I'm coming to you with intel from the underworld. I told you I was going to blow spots, and so much was revealed. And I thought I'd just give you a series of the underworld intel, piece by piece by piece, not to overwhelm you too much, but just to basically break down what has been going on here. So the discussion today is the topic of carbon. If many of you don't know, the topic of carbon is something that majority of Satanists and Luciferians and many of the Masons are obsessed with. Many of you mistaken it for what we consider to be the artificial concept of melanin. And it is melanin, but it's a little deeper than that. It's the worship of quote unquote blackness. It is the worship of the Centaurians. And I like to play wordplay. So you saw my title that a lot of times we say, they use anagrams with names. And a lot of times when you're reading certain things, I want you to get in the habit of breaking down things phonetically. Some of us who spoke other languages, it's a little easier for us to do because when we learn English, we have to break down words in little breaches. Just like when you learn a Latin language or another language, you break it down in pieces. It's the same as people who speak other languages. A lot of times it's easier for me to see an anagram based on the fact when I learned the English language, I had to learn to break words apart. So even with the Satanists, you can easily say that are Centaurians, Saturnists. And these are Black worshipers. Yes, family, we are going to reveal, and I'm going to blow a spot on something that I've talked about before, but it was solidified in my visit to an aspect of me losing my consciousness. When I say consciousness, me losing myself for a couple of days, going to the underworld and visiting the land of the dead. I know it seems a little crazy, but I'm FleurBrun. I blow spots, and this is what I'm bringing back. So, yes, Bill, be ill. We have to break down words. You have to break words apart. The majority of the English language has been bastardized, and a lot of it are sigils and anagrams that are utilized for you to speak the spell and have a non-realization that you are actually proponing something that you haven't any ideology as. We've talked about aspects of that before with saying good morning. Why would you mourn in the morning? Also bringing up the word black, which B is a 13, which is an exasperator or a amplifier of anything behind it. So you have B, which after you have is lack. So that's why it is very important to people of color to take on a different term of what you are. There aren't really any Black people other than people who hurt babies, hurt animals, hurt children, and hurt the planet. Those people are Black people. But if you keep calling yourself those things, you are going to have the personification of something like that. So we get into the whole concept of sigils, anagrams, and things like that. And I started off, but there is a misnomer of who is really ruling this planet. And they have flip mode and inverted every aspect of everything you thought you knew. So we're going to get into a conversation about the worship of carbon. 666 is the molecular structure of carbon. If you do not believe me, as you know, I worked as a hereditist. Someone worked in heredity and genetics in my previous life as a younger C-star. And what you'll notice is that this is why there is a consistent worship of things. And that's why you'll see a lot of even the practices within the realm of the Satanists and Luciferians. They will wear black colors, dark colors. And you think that's just by chance that these people supposedly have such hatred for people who are copper colored or brown. I actually disagree. They have a worship. They actually worship beings, those big Centaurian beings that we talk about that are dark carbon beings. And we'll get into the conversation of that. I'm going to blow a spot about something that's going to be very uncomfortable. So I want you, if you have little people, please bring them out of the room. I'm a mommy. This is one thing I always discuss. If we get in some of these interesting conversations that I think little ones are too young to really realize and maybe will mess with their consciousness, I always say that you bring them outside of the room. It isn't appropriate. I think 13, 14, 15 is appropriate, but most of them would probably be in instructions or school right now, or maybe some of you are in a time zone where, it's they may not be around. Okay. So I'll leave that up to you, but I want to really I want to really have this discussion. And it's the intel that I've gotten, one of many things that I'm about to blow the spot. So we know that there is a worship of carbon, okay, based on the things that they show you. They consistently have the 666 anagram, the 666 as one of their symbols of what they worship. They worship also the Baphomet. The Baphomet is also a representation of as above, so below. These concepts, even the being that I met in the underworld, one of the major beings was a dark red being who had a lot of color to her. And even in the realm and spectrum of that, the shadow beings, many of the beings that you sometimes see in the corner of your eyes, these are all aspects of some of the beings that are coexisting here, working in a shadow format that are ruling and really calling the shots. And what we have within the realm of the Satanists and the Luciferians, we have a group of groupies that are worshiping the actual beings that are ruling over this planet. And also there is a worship of a type of disposition that has been remarked as negative or savage or connected to people that are lower or subhuman, all these different propaganda ideologies associated with people of darker skin, which is interesting because you would think that if that was the case, why is it that the number one woman on this planet that is being coerced, kidnapped, sexually, you know, what is it called? The trafficked. I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to be healthy. So sometimes my thought pattern is not hitting everything all right. Okay, so the number one woman on the planet, the type of woman on the planet that is being sexually trafficked, let's say that, it's not funny, I just saying it is odd. Sexually trafficked, the one that is most raped, most depreciated, happens to be very, very dark melanated women. And I'm not even talking about just myself and this complexion because I'm copper, but I'm talking about the majority of women that are usually living in countries in the continent of Africa and all around the globe. And why that is, it is a flip mode of something that really is something that is deeper. It is a worship of carbon in a way that shows up really unhealthy, and how you may possibly see it is by those who are really worshiping it, trying to perpetuate a depreciative value of it to you. Meanwhile, they are behind closed doors and in ceremonies and in these festivals of darkness, worshiping the same type of being that they are depreciating in the public eye. It is all bait and switch, family. And I know it's very hard because it's going to touch on some of your sensitivities and some of the things that have been perpetuated to you throughout your life and through your family's lineage, things that have been taught that are quite untrue. So I'm going to touch on things that will be very, very hard to kind of unravel or to grasp. And I say to you, don't take anything at face value. You can always verify everything I say. And what I got as intel can be verified. And this is why I'm coming to you. So the number one thing you have to realize is there's been a bait and switch. There has been a concept of demonizing the color, and we can talk about this in other ways. They demonize the number 13. They demonize black cats. They demonize things that they utilize and purposefully utilize in their practices, in their ceremonies, in their worship. When they go into doing these huge rituals, they utilize a lot of these things, that they tell you are evil or negative. Friday the 13th is negative. The number 13, we took the number 13 back. But do you see what I mean? They flip mode things, make it seem negative to you. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, it is absolutely the opposite. And I'm going to share something that's really diabolical and disgusting. And take with it what you must, but this has to be shared. Number one, say Venezuela was attacked, or simply helping that. Okay, someone, Oskand. Okay, they can't see your comment because it's hidden, so I'll discuss that as well. Thank you, Oskand. I know you're very passionate about, we'll touch that. So let's get into the conversation. I think I've touched on this before, but because I just got a really major intel from going into a space where I was allotted to see aspects of our reality in a way that normally you wouldn't have access to, unless you're, of course, down with the dark cabal, unless you're doing rituals and spells and things with Satanists and Luciferians. And the majority of you aren't doing that. The majority of you are just regular people trying to live healthy lives, trying to basically live and coexist in this matrix without, as healthy and cohesive as possible. So most of you wouldn't have that concept of anything more diabolical than what's being shared with you on social media. Okay, so there has been a influx of adoptions of brown carbon children from the continent of Africa. Now, for a while, I didn't understand it because many of us from the Intellist part of the community knew that there were harvesting of carbon body organs. There's a heightened amount of organ harvesting that is going on that is really tragic worldwide. And the cost and the price of people, especially males from ages, I think it was ages 16 or is it 17 to age 35, the price for a brown man, healthy brown man's heart is more than gold on the black market. Okay. If you do not believe that, I suggest you do your research. So it is a fact that they have been harvesting brown organs for a long time. And I've talked about this in another video, that it wasn't just people doing this on planet Earth. There was a group of future travelers. And again, if you're coming to this channel to listen to certain things, if you don't realize, FleurBrun is a part of the ET, intel community, meaning that I've also been a contactee and I have awareness of other ET groups that are coinciding with us. So if that's a little far-fetched for you, it might be a little hard for you to actually be down with this video because it's going to touch on the balance of a lot of different parties that are participating in a bigger, wider agenda. Okay, so from what I knew, it wasn't just people here, because the Rockefellers alone, Rockefeller himself, the gentleman that supposedly died, which I personally think he didn't die, he switched bodies. Okay, that's what they do. They take your consciousness out of one body, they'll place it in another body, and then you're fresh and new in a new genre and a new existence without anyone really realizing that you've changed form. Okay, that's a form of shapeshifting as well. But if we go into the concept that they've been harvesting organs, because remember, Rockefeller was getting several different hearts. He had many different heart surgeries. There are people now in hospitals who can't even get one heart transplant, but this man had at least 10 heart transplants that he was getting, and his majority of hearts that were transplanted inside of Rockefeller, and this can be verified, he requested that they be from brown people. Okay, so this is why I'm saying you're getting a bait and switch in society, where society will tell you that brown people or copper people are savages, or that they're lower class, or that they're subhuman. And this has been a verbal echo for many, many eons now, even though there is an opposite of what's actually occurring, but that is meant to do a bait and switch. Okay, and even with the worship of 666, that is a worship of carbon. And where is that related to? That is related to a big group of big, tall centaurians that are dark carbon beings, black for some people who don't know what I'm talking about. And they're being worshipped, and those are the beings being worshipped. And if we get into a further conversation about the real people that are the real species that are ruling over this planet, they are not the Westerners or the Rockefellers or the Bilderbergs that you hear about, that they propaganda to you. They are a group of tall, dark, carbon beings that are actually ruling over this entire planet. And people say, oh, well, FleurBrun, that's so far-fetched because racism is existing. You're being suppressed. And racism exists, and they feel it, and they know it happens because they saw, this guy that has nothing to do with species. That's why I tell you, we have to get past the complexion thing to a certain degree, because a lot of the things that you think are happening because of it's another species that is benefiting from creating coups that have nothing to do with you complexion-wise. Those carbon tall centaurians don't consider themselves and aren't not part of the same species with the majority of brown people here. So the fact of the matter is, even though you may look like someone, that's like me saying someone in Russia who is European from Eastern Russia, and then someone from maybe parts of France or from even the Middle East can look a very similar phenotype, but they're absolutely different lineage, different background. Everything is different about them. They may look alike, but it does not mean they are the same person. Actually, they may have very different genetics as well. So we've been conditioned to see from the lens of our oppressors, and our oppressors are beings that aren't even of the same species. So basically they're creating a narrative that is creating all these coups here saying, oh, this person is brown, this person is lunar, we're all hating each other. But meanwhile, there's a bait and switch because it's not even the same species that is causing the upheaval of how we feel about each other. So I'm digressed. Okay. So we have a worshiping of carbon, and it goes a little further because there's something else that has to do with having a heightened amount of carbon as well. If you weren't aware, we are coming closer to the Van Allen belt. Okay, the Van Allen belt is even if you looked at it I think we had there's a couple different views that I think you can use the Earth there's an Earth app that you can put, and you can actually see the Van Allen belt. But on the Van Allen belt, you also see almost like a straight purple, almost looks like a beam, purple beams. Now, what is emitting from that Van Allen belt is tons of gamma radiation. Okay, so many of you who come from sensitive brown people from the South, big up to my Southern family, brown people from the South, you would have heard about experiments that were done on young boys, young melanin dominant boys in the 60s and 70s. I think it even went into the 80s. What they were doing, which was a black ops experiment. And it's wonderful that I'm a clinician, so I get this information not from people who look like me, but from people who don't look like me, from people from other countries. So I can usually verify my facts based on the fact that I'm not getting it from the same sources that most people would get their intel publicly and inside, their main country. And that's the nice thing about coming from an international background, where I am respected. So that being said, they were doing experiments on these young little brown boys in the South. I forgot if it was Mississippi. I think it was Mississippi, might have even gone into Louisiana, where they were exposing them to a heightened amount of radiation. And I think you can look this up. There's one, and they might have taken a video down, but if some of you want to verify this, for those who are concerned that I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and I'm making all this up, I love vetting. I love giving information to you because I vet everything down. Was it in Alabama? It was Alabama too. Thank you, D. Griffin. If you look it up, it's called The Man with a Boy with a Hole in His Head. Okay, I think that video might still be accessible. They might have taken it down. You will see an exposure of especially one story of a man who's grown now. I think he was in his 80s and 90s at the time they did the interview. And he explained that they were doing experiments on little brown boys, giving them a heightened amount of radiation to see how much they could take before it started to depreciate their genetic makeup, started to alter their DNA. Now, what many may not know is that there is tons of research going on presently, past, and from the 30s, as far as I know, in Germany, where there was research specifically on melanin. Now, melanin, to some, it could be, if you don't know what melanin is what causes the color in your skin to show up darker or on your skin. Melanin, everyone has melanin on the planet. People who seemingly are very fair have melanin. If you did not have any melanin, you would not be able to coexist under a sun. You would be living underneath, like maggots have, things or little things that cannot be exposed to sun. So everyone on the planet has melanin. If you are living on the surface of the planet, you have to have it, or you would not be able to coexist. Your liver would give out and your kidneys would fail. It's a fact. So I hate when people say, oh, well, these people don't have melanin. Everything on this planet has to have it on the surface of the planet. That is a fine, okay? Albinos are something a little different. I would say that albinos is why albinos have to wear special visors, special glasses. They look very, albinos are something a little different. Albinos have a very sensitive endocrine system. They have absolutely no melanin, and you're absolutely correct. And that is why they have to wear long sleeves. They have to wear special glasses, and they have to basically cover up their whole body. And if you know, most albinos don't really live very long because of the constant bombardment of the radiation, or the actual magnetic radiation that they get exposed to. So that's very unique. I will say that albinos, albinos do exist. And also there's a question as far as the genetic species of which ET group had either homogenized albinos or that they come from, because there are beings from other planets that have albino type of qualities that don't come from a magnetic sphere where we have a binary where we have a binary, where we have several different solar expressions of magnetic solar energy that would bombard people. So not everyone, you know, there are people who come from places where the sun doesn't exist in the way it is. So they don't require a strong amount of melanin, which is something that protects your skin from ultraviolet rays and radiation, especially gamma radiation, okay? So why is this something that I wanted to explain? Is because there has been a heightened amount of adoptions from celebrities going into the continent of Africa. Sandra Bullock, I think, adopted children from a child from Africa. Angelina Jolie, we have Madonna, we have a host of celebrities that go directly into Africa. Now you say to yourself, oh, that's so compassionate. Oh, they're so humanitarian. Like, I would beg to differ. I'm going to share something with you that is really sad. It's really heinous. And it is the intel that I've gotten from the underworld. And I couldn't have brought anything else into this concept because I had a different concept of why they were adopting them. I knew somewhat, but now I know for sure. Okay. So why are they going into specifically Africa? Aren't there brown children in the United States? Aren't there plenty of children, disadvantaged children? Aren't there plenty of brown children in the adoption area where they have zero parents, either lost them from tragedy of drugs, alcohol, or maybe not, unable to care for them? There is a reason for a family. They are going into the continent of Africa to purchase, I know it's going to bother you, gamma radiation muters, okay? Why they want these particular children is because they're heirlooms, meaning that their genetics have not been altered. All of us in the States here, especially those of the indigenous that come from the northern, southern Americas, we have what you call a different type of carbon base. We don't necessarily have the same carbon molecular structure as those from the actual continent of Africa who are indigenous from those regions in Africa. We have a different content of melanin, and it shows there's a pheno difference between the two, okay? Even if they're the same complexion as myself, which is more copper-based, they still have a different type of melanin than those who have resided here. Now, I've already given you my synopsis that the slave movement wasn't what it was. The majority of brown people were already here. They did a bait and switch telling brown people that they were from Africa, the continent of Africa, and it wasn't the case. These were brown indigenous that were already coexisting here. They were kind of separated from their tribes, moved all over the place. So they thought they were in other countries and continents. And also they were identified and called something different so that they wouldn't know who they were. That is a whole concept. And I don't want to really get into that because that's a whole nother bait and switch. Okay. But the reason why these children are being adopted that are heirlooms, I call them non-GMO heirloom carbon children. They are gamma radiation muters. They are being purchased by celebrities and others. Some are athletes, what have you, because they are gamma radiation muters. By walking around with them, they can actually defrag and actually transmute radiation. That is why they did the experiment on these young brown melanin boys in the 60s and 50s. Well, it was I think it started in the 60s. Don't quote me on that because I don't want you to, I don't remember the date. Please, I don't remember the date. I don't want to give you dates and I don't know because I want to give you, valid statements that aren't so grandiose. I know it was from the 60s, 70s, and I think it went into the 80s. These children are muters of radiation. They are walking around with muters from gamma radiation so that it does not go or alter them. They are basically getting heirlooms and non-GMOs. And many of you from the holistic and naturopathic community, you already know what an heirloom is. You know the difference of getting an heirloom orange, which is green for us in the Caribbean, an heirloom a tomato, which is purple or darker in color, an heirloom, what else? Heirloom grapes. You know, heirlooms are things that whose heredity or genetics DNA has gone back far enough where it has not been genetically altered, or the actual species of that fruit or that species of people or humanoids has not been altered in any way, genetically modified or homogenized. Okay, so these people, these celebrities are purchasing gamma radiation muters so that they're not being affected by it. Now, when we get into the concept of 5G, some people were very disturbed that I had a different take on the 5G. And let me state this, 5G coming onto the line and 6G is going to cause issues genetically and also biologically to people who aren't capable of transmuting that type of radio waves or radiation that comes with that type of technology. What many of you may not know is the ancient beings, the Nubians, who coexisted here before many of us who were homogenized, including us, who were created by many of the ET groups, whether it was Arcturians, the Pelagians, the Andromedans were really hybrided later because the Andromedans were native indigenous women from here. We're talking about, the Draconians, different reptilians. The subterranean reptilians are living in Africa were actually from here. So that being said, these children are being utilized to mute radiation. And I personally think, to throw in my own take, is that also they may be used later on when others have to go into underground bunkers as used as a source of organs in case they are not able to deal with the heightened amount of radiation. Why would this be a concern? If they are affected because they are not natural, and not natural, they are not, they are solely affected because they are not natural. So that being said, the experiments that they did on these and I think it was very tragic to know what they did to those young men. And many of you may not know about this. So if I'm sharing something, you can easily research that. A lot of the experiments that were done in the world have been done on children of all different nationality and races. This is why we have to take our stance to really stand in awareness and also protection of the babies and the children. Someone sent a video yesterday of two English children. It was very sad, talking about they were part of the father was a Satanist and they were having sex with the children in school and the mother didn't know. And it was a whole host of, this is why we have to know these things. And I say to you this to say, because I think sometimes if it bothers you that this could be plausible, if it is, and even in the smallest minuscule way true, we have to take a stance to start being more protective of the offspring of everyone on the planet, all young people, because this only happens and we're only complicit a lot of times because we're unaware of it. We're unaware that these things are happening. If you knew that these things were happening, maybe your eyes can be more wide open rather than wide shut. An experiment that happened to these young brown boys that was happening publicly. It was public. Listen, this is public information. You can probably still, they were taking the video down just in recent years, but this was public information. What mother would have allowed her children to be consistently bombarded with heightened amount of radiation that would destroy his brain? One of the videos where the man had grown up, he was like in his 70s or 80s now, he had a big hole in his head from the super amount of radiation that they did. So you're telling me that this didn't happen, but if that's happening, why would they be testing little brown boys? Why weren't they testing other little boys? Why were they only testing a certain demographic of children with a heightened amount of melanin? Because they knew something, and that's why to this day there are dark researchers who specifically are geared and are designated to only research melanin and carbon. Carbon is just the actual name of what it is. Melanin is just a fancy colonized name that was created to make it seem something of what it wasn't. And carbon, its molecular structure is 666. Okay. How about the world we live in? Yeah, it's not good. Look, let me explain something. You should protect yourself from your cell phones. Okay, we talked about that. You should have diodes on your cell phone. As you know, there's a heightened amount of low ELF waves that actually permeate your body. You can feel it when you use your phone. You should have muters on your phone and blockers. They don't block EMF blockers. It doesn't block everything, but you should have things and being proactive. Also, by keeping your body healthy and by naturally creating your own sense of protection, by energetically protecting yourself, metaphysically protecting yourself, keeping yourself pretty alkaline, you can also be muting some of the energies that utilize your body as a transmitter board. Okay, so you can also do that. But I wanted to talk about the fact that we have these diabolical celebrities who get a lot of props. They get a lot of kudos for adopting little African children. And you say to yourself, why did you do it? Now, when I realized that there was so much more validity where I lived, I noticed that there was an adoption of when I say older, they're in their 50s and 60s, an older lunar couple that adopted. And again, I find it interesting that their lineage is that they are what I consider to be of the Zionists. The Zionists, when I say the Zionists, they're seemingly what you consider to be from a Jewish background, but they're not Jews. I know plenty of Jews, and of course I know plenty of Christians that are not practicing Christians, as I know many practicing non-practicing Jewish people. When I say non-practicing Christian people, just meaning they call themselves Christians, but they may not go to church every Sunday. I know non-practicing Jewish people who don't go to Shabbat on every Saturday. So that's what I'm talking about, non-practicing. But what I noticed is that the majority of people that were coming into my realm who were seemingly Jewish were adopting, and were past the age where you would have cravings to have children, were adopting little melanated brown children from Africa. And to me, I thought to myself, well, that's obscure. Even though they were wealthy, that most of them were wealthy, some of them weren't as wealthy to be able to go and purchase children. And I thought it interesting, what would be their motivation to go to Africa and adopt children when there's a ton of children here that would be of the same background that they would want to adopt. So you have to look at people's motivation. And people say, well, that's terrible to think that every FleurBrun, why would you think that every person who's not the same race, some of you say race, I consider species, same complexion, why would you think that's diabolical? Why, family? Is because we're living in a society where the majority of propaganda shows brown people as negative. So us as parents, you wouldn't want to adopt a child with those type of stigmas because the hardship that comes with having children like that. And when you see people do something the opposite of what's being propaganded to the public, to the populace, and they're going against the natural grain of what is considered to be the standard of healthiness as far as seeing or wanting to hit or adhere to certain standards, then you have to question their motivation. And when I'm seeing people going into the continent of Africa and adopting children that look absolutely the opposite of them, and rearing them in a way that makes them seem more like glorified pets than children, I have to question why they would go so far to have children that are so far removed from their genetics, and also rear them in a way that seems so disattached, but almost like, Hansel and Gretel when the witch was giving them tons of candy and feeding them, but eventually she was feeding them to fatten them up so she could eat them at the end of the day. It's kind of that concept. So as I've gotten the intel, that the majority, I won't say all celebrities. I don't want to do that because some celebrities may go into Africa, visit and do humanitarian stuff. I don't want to lump everyone in it. But what I will tell you is that there is a great number of celebrities who have specifically rented or purchased. Let me explain this, family. I don't consider adoption going over there and paying a family a plethora of money for a child. A lot of times you don't realize that the reason why these children are released to these celebrities is because the celebrity has paid the village. The celebrities have paid the parents a host of money that they would never, ever have access to. Now these people have 20 other children that they can feed and take care of, and they can actually have a good, decent life for the price of sacrificing one of their own, non-realizing that this child that supposedly looks like they're being glorified and going to be well taken of and are living in mansions and given so many wonderful things like Hansel and Gretel, given a wonderful world of accessibility to things, really at the end of the day are being utilized for diabolical reasons, and also being used as muters for radiation to keep these beings perpetually youthful and disallowing them from being affected by the same low elf waves that many regular people are exposed to regularly. It is why there is a heightened amount of low elf waves when you go into the hood that really doesn't do anything else but mess with the mental stability and the mindset of the people who are coexisting in those hoods. And if you think that I'm exaggerating or I'm going too far, remember, I'm out of the perspective of racism. I know that there is a speciesism issues, meaning that there are beings that are pit against each other that are different species that plays out as complexionism. I do realize that that is a systemic issue, but I also realize that issue has only been perpetuated by liars and people promoting that to you to create coups so that there isn't any way that you guys would get along. There wouldn't be any way you would trust a copper person because God forbid she'd rob your purse. You know what I mean? God forbid you would trust a lunar because you would think that she was, just using you for brownie points to, say that she knew a brown person. You know what I mean? It's all these little innuendos that are being pushed out there that are creating the separatist agenda of the dark Cabalists who are actually worshiping the thing that they call negative. I just want you to see a different side of the agenda. I want you to see that these little brown heirloom children that are coming from the continent of Africa are being purchased like radio wave blockers to just perpetuate the ideology that these people should be untouched. They aren't to be here. They have done too much harm. And as Mr. Corey and myself, and I do agree with this, if you walk the red carpet, what sacrifices, what have you done to be able to walk amongst those who we know some to be children killers, baby murderers, or to be in the party or the company of those and be complicit in those circles? People who are okay with subjugating women and children to harm. People and animalistic type of savages, the real savages that have parties and different types of sick sexual rituals that engage with the harm and the deprivation of little boys, girls, children, and animals. We have to really take in consideration that the only way we can do anything is being non-participants in their agenda. Now, what am I proposing? Proposing. What am I proposing? If we aren't participants, why do we watch? Why do we give them attention? Because at the end of the day, the only reason why these bastards have been allotted to coexist on our planet is because we have allowed them anonymity. They have basically have free reign to behave in ways that are absolutely reprehensible and disgusting. In order to allow for unity consciousness to come back in a healthy way and for consequences for those who have done harm and heinousness to the pure souls or the pure life on this planet, we have to disallow or disengage with them. They only are fed through our attention. Every time you watch Super Bowls, you are giving them attention. Every time you watch the Grammys, you are giving them energetic attention. Every time that you watch a show that they get paid an egregious amount of money, which basically gives them free reign to act in depraved ways, you are giving them the energy. Remember, fiat is energy. All that is energy. You are giving them the resources to be able to still engage in ways that are harmful to the pure lives here on this planet that we should all want to protect. Because at the end of the day, every child should feel safe on our planet if we're healthy. There isn't an animal alive that wants to harm its offspring if it's healthy. You have animals acting in ways that are so beautiful and compassionate when it comes to their own offspring that you see humans challenged to do just in their daily routines. We are going to have to start to negate their system. In order to break down, because it's already breaking down, I saw the future. It is magnanimous and it's beautiful, but we are the ones who make that happen. Each one of you who is non-complicit in their agenda, who isn't feeding them the energy that they eat, whether it's your sadness, whether it's your compassion, whether it's your fear, your anger, you aren't feeding them. But all of us engaging in their shows every time they have a new blockbuster movie, every time they're doing something, we watching them is giving them life. So it is just like the witches. Big up to my witches and my metaphysicians, my occultists, my Wiccans and wizards. Many of you who go to who are part of those occult or metaphysical or spiritual practices or magical practices realize what gives more life to your ritual. You'll see that sometimes on YouTube, you'll see witches do money rituals. You'll see them do what else? Other rituals. You know why they show you the rituals? Because real spiritualists will keep that private. Why they show it to you is because every time you gaze on their ritual, you're giving it life. You're basically adding more flame to their fire. Every time you witness a ritual, regardless if it's a movie, a show, a Grammy, where these people may have just left a house where a child has been murdered, where children have been eaten. Now, if you listened to this video last night that I listened to, and I heard it previously, but I actually got a chance after the show because someone sent it to me, and it was really concerning. It's very old. It's about two little lunar children, beautiful little children, who were going to a school, and the school and the church were all in cahoots, having sex with the children every day, all day, having rituals inside of the school. And it was found out that it was true, engaged in all kinds of practices. This was going on around, an arena of other people. And there was a host of people involved from the highest and lowest positions. Every teacher in the school was involved. The people that were considered to be the social workers were involved. Political figures who had a say in whether these people were arrested were involved. Police figures were involved, judges were involved. This video was absolutely horrific to watch. And you knew that these little babies, these beautiful little babies, were telling the truth because there wasn't any way that children could know that information by any means unless they were exposed to it. And I thought it was really quite tragic to witness that. And I realized that the only way that they are going to coexist is if we give them life. And the more that we take away from them, the more that we aren't engaging. Why do you think a lot of us don't even watch their movies anymore? Why should we watch a movie? Why should we sit there and watch something when Sandra Bullock or watch a video with Madonna or who else? And I actually used to love Sandra Bullock movies. To be honest, listen, family, I'm not beyond the same criteria of issues that we all suffer from. It's not just you. I've watched, how many movies have I watched of hers? Keanu Reeves, who was in the movie Matrix. How many times have we watched actors and actresses that we've fallen in love with, thinking that they're one thing, but meanwhile, behind closed doors, they're devils. We have to disengage. Many of you don't even watch television, but as far as, and you know how much of I'm a movie buff. You know, I grew up, I'm a child from a certain genre. We watch movies our whole lives. You know, that's one of the things. I grew up watching shows and movies. And this is where we're going to have to step up our level of consciousness to say, like, listen, I know what you're doing, or I suspect that you're a demon doing harm to children. And if I know that you've harmed children, you're purchasing little African children so that you can mute yourself and depreciate that child and eventually maybe harvest their organs in your underground bunkers, I'm not going to watch you. I'm going to disengage from giving you any of my energetic currency ever again. So they can only feed off of those who are co-mingling with them. It's the same with this low consciousness, this reptilian, this person on Carbonation on YouTube. You know, he was doing so much harm to women and children. And I just said at the end of the day, I just have to pull back, because people watching him daily was giving him energy. And then when people stopped watching him, because he blocked everybody on YouTube and his Instagram, he released the blocks because he needs to feed. He's perpetually filming himself because in our witnessing him, we bring him life. And it's a shame, because I think, and like I say, I have to hold myself to that same standard of a requirement that I would ask of anyone else is, why would I want to? It's like having a friend that you know is doing harm to another person. Just me being friends with that person is making me I'm complicit in their actions. I'm basically a silent partner if I'm allowing or being around someone who's doing harm to other life forms on this planet. There has to be some accountability. Now, I will say this, family, not all celebrities. Listen to me. I don't want to say this because I don't want to put everyone. I'm not saying all celebrities are negative. I'm not saying all celebrities hurt babies and harm babies. I'm not saying all people adopting children in Africa are heinous and awful. That isn't what I'm promoting here. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, even if it was one or two, it's still too many. And if it's a fact that that's a trend or it's becoming it's becoming a regular occurrence, that's an issue. And at the end of the day, this worshiping of carbon is a flip mode of something that you could never, ever accept. And why it bothers many people when I talk about this and why there's such a resistance to it, because you've been told, and the perpetuation of being a victim or the person victimizing through your lineage, there's been a narrative here that has been projected to us, and we've played it out for now hundreds of years. So if your lineage has been the victims, your lineage has perpetuated the same narrative generation after generation. So if you sit there and say, oh, my family have been slaves, I've been subjected to all kinds of racial standards and limitations, then you are accepting the narrative that those outer perimeter beasts have given you. And the same for those who are sitting on the other side, which is basically the same coin, just flip sides of the same coin. And it could flip at any time. Okay. What you deem to be racist, you could be popular now as one particular complexion and be unpopular in another genre. They can flip it at any time. They do it all the time. You have certain genres, you have certain standards of beauty that's wonderful at one point. Remember, you had standards of beauty where it was like Marilyn Monroe, thicker women, size 14, voluptuous, sexy, robust. And then you had the incoming of what's her name? Wiggy, what's her name? Ziggy? Was it Ziggy? No, it was Fidgy. What's her name? It was like Fidgy, Wiggy. Twiggy. I gotta get it. Twiggy. Remember Twiggy came in? Whoa. Twiggy took from beautiful women that were full, the Rockettes had thick legs. Twiggy came in. What did she do? She switched the whole job. They switched it. Now you had to be emaciated. You had to look like a little boy. You had to have no figure. You had to look like you were a corpse to be attractive. So now the whole standard of beauty in the fashion industry changed, because now you have women walking around. If they weren't naturally emaciated looking, they were starving themselves. They were literally looking like corpses with bags. I have natural bags underneath my eyes like my daddy, but they were looking like dehydrated corpses. And that became the new standard of beauty. And listen, if any of you've ever been to Fashion Week and you've ever had the chance to go fashion, and big up to my models, listen to me, this isn't a hit to you because I'm a thickums and it's not hateration, because sometimes my thickness, I got to squeeze. I have to squeeze right now. I'm working out. I have to squeeze into my things. So don't worry, my thin, wonderful, lean, tall, beautiful model-esque women. It's not a criticism to you. But if you've ever been to Fashion Week, if you've ever seen runway models walk the runway and look like their bones are popping out between their legs, it is the most unattractive thing. And why it's a sickness? Because you have an industry that perpetuates whatever fad or fashion agenda there is. And then you have an industry that is totally supposed to be female based, but you have men who are actually men that don't even like women making the calls about women's bodies. So you have mostly gay men in the fashion industry making the calls, doing makeup, doing all the calls, making the fashion choices. What kind of flip mode is that? So you have men that don't even like women making choices for women for fashion. It's very sick. And it isn't saying that there's something wrong with gay men being in the fashion industry. I think it's wonderful if gay men talk about other men's bodies, what other men should wear. But I think it's a little unhealthy for men that don't even like women sexually or any sort of way to really make calls about fashion or body imagery of women that they're not even in sync with in a very frequency type of way. I'm just saying, this is my opinion. And if you go to Fashion Week and you saw some of these models that were walking on stilts because they were walking on stilts, and then all of a sudden they look like a bone could pop out of their hip at any moment. If you thought that was attractive or you thought that was healthy to watch, I question your species. I question that you're not down with the reptilians or the dark Cabalists, because there isn't any way that you could go to and then they had to spray. Let me stop. I'm blowing spots. They had to spray some, because women that are not healthy, listen, whether they're very overweight, let me explain something. Women that are very obese or very, very thin. It's the same, it's one coin, it's a flip of the other side of the coin. You had women that were very, very thin and they smelled like corpses. They would have to spray the dressing rooms, the mass dressing rooms, because women's breaths were so tragic. It smelled like dragon breath because they weren't eating. So they smelled like bile. They used to have to spray back there. Many people in the industry, you know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, some of you are not privy or haven't had, and I wouldn't consider it a privilege to have witnessed that actually makes you realize they're sick. When a woman can't eat to get a job, and the only way she can go and weigh 99 pounds and be told and passed along and said, go lose some more weight, when she already looked like a corpse, and then would starve herself and nearly not even be able to make the fashion show and pass out after she finished her walk. That has happened more than not. So really, why I want to give you these examples is because we need to see I want you to teach your babies. And when I say babies, your young women, your young men, I want you to teach them to have better discernment. And only way they get that is from us. I have to be the change I want to see in the world. And believe me, family, I have little ones who look at me, and I have to be the role model sometimes. And it is sometimes a challenge because I'm spicy. But I've always upheld myself to a higher standard. I was a young woman growing up in New York, went to school in New York. I could have settled and done things that were harmful to my reputation. I could have been dancing on poles. I could have been doing sexually explicit things just because I can claim to be young. I chose to be a better version of myself, even if it wasn't fashionably accessible or acceptable. There were times when I didn't dress the way other people dressed. I could care less, but I chose sometimes to do things above what I felt was even okay, based on the fact that I knew later on I would have children. And I wanted to grow up and have my children be able to look at their mother's resume and say, you know what, mommy was a good person. Mommy upheld herself with healthy standards. My mommy was an activist and she fought for animal rights. My mommy sometimes used to sit out at places where they were doing harm to African children in gold mines, so she wouldn't buy gold for a couple of years. I had to do that, and I still do that, even times when it's more challenging. There's times where I have to step back and say, I want to be the example that if my daughters did anything, including this podcast, like myself, I can say, you know what, I'm okay with them doing that. I feel good that I was an example, even in this way, that I'm okay with them doing and following my footsteps. People think that you can just do things randomly and just chaotically and not think that your offspring are going to follow in your footsteps. I've had girlfriends say, how did my children end up doing this? Because you did it. So you have to create your own path, and you have to be the change you want to see in the world. And I can't talk about it unless I'm going to be about it. And I've made the decision, even as many near-death experiences that I keep having, to keep doing and pushing forward, even though sometimes it's more challenging. And even though I'm a foodie and I'm a movie buff, I'm going to be even more critical of the things that I choose to engage and give energy to, and also the things that I choose to refrain from giving energy to. I'm going to make instead of everybody making all these challenges to look like corpses or do the bird box, I challenge everyone to give energy only to things that bring life to the planet. I challenge everyone to uphold to the standards that they would have everybody else uphold to. I challenge everyone to be the change that they desire to see in the world. That's a great challenge. How come we don't see more of that? Why don't we see more of that? And it's not being perfect by zero means. It means just being balanced. In the end of the day, FleurBrun is not perfect. I make mistakes daily, but I will tell you that the mistakes I make, I feel good that I can come back from, and I feel good karmically of how it may show up. So that being said, Yeah, I'm a little more seasoned. Yes, I know the millennials are like, FleurBrun, you're not growing up in social media. There's so much going on. It's hard. I understand my wonderful millennials, but you are the ones who were born here with all of the tools and all of the information that a lot of us veterans didn't get. So you're going to be held to a higher standards because you have a lot more. So you know a lot more, so you can do a lot more. So don't use the excuse that I'm a millennial. Some of the millennials, some of the millennials will be like, FleurBrun is so hard. Social media is so difficult. Social media is only what it is if you engage in it. If you're not on social media, it doesn't exist. If a tree falls in a forest, did it actually fall? It's the same concept. You aren't going to hurt yourself not being on social media. Actually, you'll probably feel like you have more time to do the things you need to do. You'll have more time trying to live the life and being the change in the world rather than watching somebody else engage in those activities that you want to do. If you want to go skylining off of a tree and you want to do that and you keep watching these YouTube videos of people doing it, instead of watching them, why don't you do it? Why don't you take that time back and you do what you want to do? Many times I know people who aren't on social media when they go on vacation and stuff because they're too busy living their lives. They are. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So that's my challenge. My challenge is be in your best life. What's that song? And it's probably a Diabolical Bastard doing harm to children, singing that song. Just be the change you want to see in the world. Like I said, I will do, like, even I know that even I shared with you before, like I had pregnant with my first daughter and I gave birth to her. And I was a Nazi with recycling. That's what I do. And my dad was a big recycler. I know it's not a big deal to many people who recycle, but for those who don't recycle, like if you go to my recycling bin right now, the neighbors laugh. They make jokes about me because my recycling bin is all the way to the top. And I got this huge ones because I was excited. They gave me a new recycling bin that was like the size of almost as tall as me. I was excited. And I have one bag of garbage, like actual garbage itself in my garbage. And my recycling is up the kazoo. So I remember I was in the hospital and I gave birth to my daughter, and my husband at the time, you know, he didn't recycle, but he was with a wife who did. So I came home and I saw bottles in the garbage. Let me tell you, family, I went bonkers. How could you put bottles in what's wrong with you? I challenged his peace of mind, and he was a freaking Nazi. I didn't care. I was like, how dare you? I was like, that's our children's future. He thought I was losing my mind. He looked at me. That man looked at me like he was scared. I was disgusted because I said to myself in my mind, because my daddy did it. I love my daddy. My daddy was a recycler. He came from another country and he had such appreciation for everything. And he really was he's much more clean than I am. My daddy was like a finagle of cleanliness. My mom is a little messy because my mom was a hoarder. I keep it real. And I'm like the in-between. Like I have extremes. Like I still have suitcases with stuff in it right now that I need to take out. I have extreme moments, but I recycle like a crazy person. And I think it's not crazy because at the end of the day, I think to myself, every piece of garbage that I leave, everything that could be recycled that I add to those fills, those garbage fills, I feel responsible for the future. And also, I realize that we are the future. I realize that if I'm giving birth to children, it's my responsibility to make sure my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren come to a planet that is cohesive, that they can live on. When I see people allow their children to throw gum wrappers out the window, throw cigarettes out the window, I look at them like, I look at the parents. I look at you side-eyed. I give dirty looks, and I would give more to them if I could, I gotta be careful, but if you're throwing garbage out the window, you're disgusting. Like in this day and age, like I say to the children sometimes, who do you think is gonna clean up that garbage on the side of the road? That wrapper is gonna sit on the floor for weeks on end. A bird is gonna eat it and choke on it and bring it to the nest, and the baby may die from it. You have zero responsibility. You have no connectivity to the planet if you're still throwing. Let me stop. I'm going too far. I'm being judgmental. I'm sorry. I'm a passionate composter, so I apologize. I'm sorry. I have to apologize sometimes because I go a little far. Yeah, I'm sorry. But I gotta behave myself. I'm gonna pull back. I know, but sometimes it aggravates me because I know what is required. to be here on the planet. And I feel like if you don't like this planet and if you're not going to be respectful, you shouldn't even be here. I feel like it's time for you to go. Like if you don't like and you can't respect our home on this planet, then you need to just bounce. We need people here on this planet that are respectful, that want to build, that want to be cohesive with nature. That's what we need. And that's why I say it's very important to not only recycle, but compost. I'm called the messy composter, and I've learned to be a messy one because I used to be a really stringent one. And composting is what you should do. If you eat an apple, it's okay to throw the apple outside underneath soil to be composted. That's a messy composter. Like if I go out and we're somewhere and I have apples and they have seeds or things like that, fruit, I will not throw that in the garbage. I will put that back in the earth. I'm very much like that. Then I have my more stringent composting where I actually build that up myself and then utilize that for my plants and all my life. But I'm considered, you won't ever see me throw apples, oranges, anything with seeds, limes, anything out in the garbage. You will only see me put that outside underneath even my girls, if they eat half strawberries, I will leave them out for the squirrels. Our squirrels here eat fruit. I'll leave them out for the squirrels, and the squirrels, they eat them in like 2.5 seconds. So I prefer to do that because I feel like that's why my garbage is like this. I have garbage like this. My neighbors laugh about me. They probably have jokes. They probably have parties. They love me. They know it's all good in the hood. Yeah, I mean, it's just, if you don't respect the planet, you shouldn't be here. Yubaka here. Hey, Yubaka. I please post your email. I want to send you links to my video. Oh, yes, Yubaka. Yes. Yubaka is the bomb.com drummist. Yubaka, where are you? Yubaka, I'm going to put it in Instagram. Okay. I'll put my email on Instagram because I don't know if you'll get it here, or should I put it here? Or I'll put it in the post here after I'm done. I don't know if I could do it now. Yeah, Yubaka, I want to play your music. Listen, family, I want to play music by you. Let's start taking back our planet. And I'm actually going to decide, listen, I want to be the change I want to see in the world. I've decided, since I've come from the underworld and I've died nearly again for another time, I think being a triple Sag allows me to just keep coming back and back and back. I'm really appreciative of my life and my life force, and I want to do more. I really came back this time with a sense of more purpose. I thought I had purpose before, but I feel so much more like I want to do more. I want you to send really positive music. I want us to play our own music. I will only play your music on my channel. But listen, send me positive music. If you start sending me music, I won't play it. I mean, rock my head a little bit to it. Don't send me music with all kinds of expletives and so on. That isn't a vibration I necessarily fly with. So if you have, yes, I'll have another conference. And, I was having a baby before. So obviously, I lost the little one. So I will have a conference probably sooner than I anticipated. Before I couldn't because I would have been too busy with the newborn. But I want to play your music. I want to play positive music that's healthy, high vibration, and fun and funky. Good music doesn't have to be all dry and non-exciting and with lack of talent. Many of you have talent, so send me your music. Send me your music and I'll play it and I'll promo it. I love it. I want to play only our family's music. I want us to do our own thing. I told you I'm moving to the jungle. I'm going to create the sanctuary. People are actually making donations, which I forgot about. I remember years ago, they told me to put a donation link. I forgot about it. I put it up every once in a while. I'm really just don't pay attention sometimes, which I should. People are making donations already to the sanctuary. As soon as I can get the sanctuary up and running, I'm going to do our own thing. I'll do our own music. I'll do our own movies. We can be the change. We can make our own productions. We don't have to use Hollyweird. Why do we have to do Hollyweird? Why can't you I remember going to film festivals. Some of you gone to film festivals, the independent ones. I love those movies. I love seeing independent movies with different perspectives, not the same genre, same thing. Why don't we just do our own thing? I'm gonna do it all. I'm come back to life, and I come back with intel from the underworld. I want us to really thrive. Yeah. Oh, you're a film major, Zakia Solomon. Let's make our own movies. Listen, we've got some actors. We got Jose who does some actors. We got some actors on here, They do promos on other movies. Let's get them on. They're good people. Zakia, hit me up in the email. Let's make our own film. We'll get people to do pro bonos. Let's get some film crew. We'll get our film crew and we'll do We'll do, okay, listen, we'll get a film crew, and you know how we'll pay them? We'll pay them with Reiki, massages, massage therapy, nutritional, referrals, energetic work. That'll be our currency. Listen, why don't we do fair exchange? So we'll pay our film crew with the things that they require. This is how we used to do. Listen, the Amish do things like that. I think it's phenomenal. Why do we have to go through Hollywood? Many of you are talented, even more, and they'll never put you on because you got to kill people or get popped in the behind to be on their shows. It's not even worth it. Why don't we just do it? We'll do that from now on. I'm ready, family. I've come back from beyond. And I want to start a revolution. I want to start a revolution of music, because you know I'm a music person. Revolution of music and entertainment. We are going to be the change we want to see in the world. And then we make it so that people come and see movies from real people that have real lives, that are healthy, that have a vibration that matches the movies and the talent that they're expressing. I think this is something we have to do. We're going to make it so that everybody's included. We don't care if you speak Russian. We don't care if you come from Darfur or from the Congo. We don't care if you've lived in Poland or in Martinique or Dominica. You can actually be on the same film crew. I actually want an international crew because that's what I represent. So I actually want everybody coming from every background, because that way the movie will be actually, the energy of the movie will be more receptive to different demographics of people. If they're smart, that's what you'll be doing. You got fashion here. We need some fashionistas. We need to have people teach us how to make our own sandals. You know, we need to get back to how we used to be. I'm ready, family. I'm ready for the change. And I think many of you are too. It's about time. I'm ready. The planet they're falling apart. They're basically, the dark Cabalists are done. They're leaving out of jump rooms, and they're trying to go to underground bases. Hollywood a lot of them are clones. They got demons inside. They're all falling. They're gone. The future is beautiful. It's probably what we do now that ends up making the future what it is. So let's just get rid of them. We'll do a thing. Just hit me up in the email. We'll get it all together. You know, I'm a triple Sag. So, you know, the first Sag in me will bring it first together. The second Sag will be a little flaky. And the third Sag will bring it back up. Let's get rid of Hollywood. We'll do our own thing. And, you know, why not? And then we promote on the channel. Let people watch a movie. So every Friday, because we do Friday movie nights in my house. With my little ones, people always say, what are you doing on a Friday night? Friday night, I'm with my little ones with snacks, and we're watching a new movie. We do it every Friday. Fridays are our movie night. So all we do is we promo. If there's a new movie that came out with our people, we promo our own people, and we make sure we give them the fiat, their energy, or the frequency to make sure that they're good. That's what we do. And that's how we make sure that happens, especially with music too. Music, we could do that too. Why are we giving money and frequency to these bees? So they can hurt little babies and children? Come on now. We're done. We're done. And you know what? And we have a lot of, you'd be surprised who's on FleurBrun Cypher and her platform. There's a lot of hidden hands in this group who, if you are one of those hidden hands, you can donate to the cause. That would be great for the family too, because there's a lot of mommies on here who don't need to be working a 9 to 5, but they're really talented. They do really great things. Why not just sponsor them so that mommies can be home with the babies, but they can be creating a source of frequency that allows them to do that. And it's healthy. I think that's even better. So let's get it together, family. Hit me up and make music videos. We'll do this. We'll get pro bono. That's what I'm saying. We'll exchange mystical and nutritional things in order to do it. Everybody wants those. Some of you go and get massages for like $200. We have massage therapists who will do it just for exchange of whatever they need, like a real, you know, for you to film something. I mean, come on. My mom and dad. You know what? Big up to my mom and dad. Big up to my mom and dad who allowed a little girl from Mount Vernon to be who she was, even though she was weirdo, she was considered, she was teased a lot, and she really didn't feel like she belonged in the world. But you know what? I found my tribe, mom and dad, and I appreciate you letting me be who I was. That I have to give kudos. Everybody wants to give props to their other ancestors. I give props to my mom and dad. They really did. I appreciate it. Fleur, do your children decode movies? Yes, they do. They know, but they know more. My little ones, sometimes they know more things than I do. they'll watch these little cartoon thingies. Like they don't watch movies on TV. They watch these little YouTube people that I subscribe to. For them, it's real cute. They decode it, but then they have things that they find that are related to like aliens and stuff. They put me on. Okay, my email for everyone. My email is can I hold on? Let me see if I could type my email in here, family. Hold on. Maybe FleurBrun can be progressive here. Let me see. Okay. Oh, I could type in here. Hold on, family. Let me type my email in here. My eyesight is tragically leaving as we speak. Pregnancy made my eyesight leave for a moment. That's okay. Gmail. Okay. Do you see it, everyone? I wrote it in the comments. So you see my email. Everyone can get that. Can I pin that? Can I pin it? No, I can't pin it. Can I? Can I pin it? Put it in timeout. Hide user. Okay, no, I don't know how to. Okay, I don't think I can pin it like other stuff. But my email is in the comment section. You see it? Okay. Did I spell it correctly? Okay. Yeah, email me. Let's just get it together. Listen. And if anything I do, I might just get you all together and just get it all together. Why don't we do this? And then listen, get your music out. Like Kabaka, I want to play some Kabaka's music. I want to do Yubaka's music. I want music that's healthy and high vibrational, and it could be cool. I don't want, like I said, I'm cool playing all genres of music. If it's Russian, you heard me play Russian hip hop. I love all good music. Send me your music. Send me your music and I'll play it, okay? Send me your stuff. We're going to get interviews with people on the show. I'm just ready to just be unity consciousness. I've been to the underworld and it was amazing. And, you know, the underworld wasn't what people thought. Because somebody said, how could she must be dark going to the underworld. Actually, the reason why I went to the underworld was quite the opposite. It's because I'm so not important. You know what's so crazy is that the reason why I was invited to the underworld is because I'm quite non-presumptuous. I'm kind of like that card, that anonymous card. That's all it is. I like Sadaliva. She makes some interesting music. She's a little dark. She has a little of that Gaga kind of vibration to her, but some of her music is really intriguing. Unity consciousness. I'm all about unity consciousness. I don't care what you look like. I don't care if you are gray reptilian. As long as you are cohesive to my energy, I will accept you. I could care less if you're like a squid looking or a non-corporeal being that comes here several light years away. As long as you aren't causing problems in my family dynamics and on my planet, I'm cool with you. I'm cool with all beings of every complexion, every nationality, every tongue, every socio-economical background. As long as you rock in my vibration, you are part of my tribe. I'm all about unity consciousness. I'm done with all their propaganda to make us hate each other. They've done it for too long. It's tiring. It's tiring for people to just look at somebody and just hate them because they look differently than you. I've had people who look just like me treat me the most heinously. My ex-Nazi looked like me and he treated me like a piece of garbage. My mother-in-law, who was the one who told me I was all Latino women were taking her brown men away. She treated me like garbage. She actually treats me nicer now that I'm not with him. So I realized that wasn't about me. It was about her. But I'm just saying, I realized that it really doesn't matter. The people have always been good to me, have just been good to me based on them just being part of, just feeling in sync with me. And that's all it is. You know, don't get it twisted. I get on people too. Because if someone does some heinousness to me, I check them. I don't have a problem checking them. I do. I have a problem checking them. Like if somebody says something left, it takes me a minute. I don't pop off at anybody like that. But if someone is like, I'm more aggressive with people who I feel are victimizing others. I'll more so do that. Or if they're messing with my peace of mind as a mother, they'll get fed some negativity back. I'll set a target. But other than that, I just want to listen. My goal, family, that's why I'm starting the sanctuary. My goal is to eat mangoes naked in the jungle with my family and friends, overlooking waterfalls from our hammock and having tribal circles every night where we play drums and meet at the fire pit, where every weekend we meet together, or not even weekends, we just meet in communal and eat together at a big, huge powwow. Our children grew up healthy with healthy choices, eating food that's non-GMO, that we grow ourselves, that we live cohesively with nature and our neighbors. I want to live that way, and I'm going to live that way. And I've decided that from a long time ago. So even if that sanctuary takes me, however long it takes me to get sanctuary up and running, I will do it, family. I told you, remember the conference? I did that conference all on my own. One woman show. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. I will do it. I have the motivation. I want my grandbabies to grow up and have a place where they can live with other babies like mine and my daughters. I'm down. I see a future that's beautiful, and I know it's us who co-create that. So I'm just saying, I want to grow food, heirloom food. I will be living on a beautiful top of I don't know where it is. I saw it before, with beautiful rainbows and waterfalls and mangoes, and we can live cohesively amongst each other with family and friends and just peace of mind. That's my goal. So that's what the sanctuary is about. I'll start putting stuff. I know people want to donate to it. I just have to put it up sometimes. I have to be reminded, and I know that I should, but I'm going to really be more proactive with the sanctuary. I promise you. I know that I'm saying that, but I will be, because I think I was just kind of getting a little complacent, but I'm going to be more proactive and looking and seeking out a place that's perfect, and then manifesting the perfect scenario to create it. Because it doesn't really take a lot, because we could just come together to do it, but it'll happen. How do you get it from being, how do we get from being deathly ill for years of that? Illness is a dis-ease. Illness is dis-ease. When you have peace of mind and you have heightened self-awareness, you will be able to regenerate yourself, and you will be able to heal yourself. I think any sickness that shows up in your physicality is a way for you to deal with a mental aspect of yourself that you are unwilling to acknowledge. So it will come into your physicality to be healed, and aspects of you healing that by changing your diet, by changing the people you're around, changing certain aspects of how you think. That's also an awakening process. So I think some people don't require that, but if you're having anything physically that's showing up on you, it's a opportunity for you to deal with some emotional things. Like, I still have emotional things. Like at this time when I lost the babies, I had to transmute. I did really well, and I'm proud of myself. I have to say I'm proud of myself, because I realized that death isn't it doesn't exist. Things transcend form. Energy always exists, and that those little ones that transcended, they're always around. That energy was there. It will come back if necessary, if I'm healthy for that. But, I think I had to see why this happened. And I knew exactly why it happened, family. I can't talk about it because I don't want to be disrespectful to the father. And I want to keep that, sometimes because I'll tell you everything, but there's families that are involved in this. So I have to keep their anonymity and keep their privacy. They don't necessarily want people knowing all their business. You know what I mean? But I think at the end of the day, I realized that when things are right for you or healthy for you, it'll just show up healthy. And if it's starting to show up as something toxic in your life, it'll show up physically. And I had to go to the depths of the underworld and basically see and witness things that were beyond my perspective or my ability, or things that I couldn't even perceive at the time. Okay. Do you have a sun star? I don't have a sun star. I was having a sun star, and I don't have one yet. So, but if it is meant to be, remember, that's where I'm healthy. If something is meant to happen, there isn't anything that could take that away. So, hold on. Okay. Energy here in Georgia is crazy. I feel like something is definitely going on here. And why are they pushing LGBT agenda in Georgia so hard? Oh, because the film. You know why? Because the film festival, all the film people are going to Atlanta because the land is cheap and they pay less taxes. You heard about that, right? So why Georgia has had the agenda is because it's setting it up for Hollyweird to move there. Hollyweird is not filming as much in Hollywood anymore. One of the C-stars sent me a video earlier, and I saw that. I was like, oh, wow. So they're moving. All of the films are being filmed in Atlanta, Georgia. That's why they set up Atlanta and Georgia as, like the agenda capital, because they're setting it up for Hollywood to go there and, drop it like it's hot. So the next place is Georgia, and Georgia has a Stargate going on over there. They got some things going on in Georgia. Yes, they do. And it isn't all negative, but there's negative beings coming there. Who is this person? Stop. This person, who are you? Stop coming on my feed. You're going to have to leave. You're not going to come here and, oh, wait. Sugar Plum. Where'd you go? Hold on, someone's coming on here and they're just, okay, I did already. All right. Hold on. I didn't know I could do this. Okay. 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 All right. Yeah, don't come on this channel advertising craziness on here. I don't know you. Doing all kinds of crazy. I don't know what kind of things you have over there. Yeah, the LGBT, remember, that's all a smokescreen. There's a lot of things going on with that too. That's why we got to be careful, because our gay family is cool as heck. We have our gay family that are both gay and females and also transgenders that rock with us, but they're not part of the agenda. But their genre is being utilized as a platform for the diabolical ones to play their agenda. You know what I mean? So we got to be careful with that, because sometimes my gay family gets mad at me. They'll be like, FleurBrun, you make me feel like I'm not wanted or I'm appreciated. Nah, son. Nah, it isn't that. I love you. Listen, our gay family, they're beautiful. They're wonderful. They're supportive. A lot of them are very agriculturally sound. They're showing up beautifully in the world. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with an agenda that's being perpetuated by a bunch of reptilian or robotoids that have a very skewed sexual, sense of ambiguity that's showing up in healthy, and they're promoting that. Hi, Fleur. I've been listening to you for years. I just wanted to say hi. Thank you for all that you do. Keep us on. Oh, thank you, SJ Browser. Thank you. I mean, listen, family. I used to come to you looking all. I've had my moments on YouTube. I mean, to me, it was kind of cathartic to come on YouTube, because at the time, for many of you who started with me on YouTube at the time, I was with my husband, and then I was basically, I rebuked him, the Nazi. Big up to the Nazi. He's actually being okay. Yeah, he feels like he's doing a 360. He feels like I'm the love of his life, but he's being rebuked, and I don't do rewinds. But many of you saw me at the beginning when I was just finding myself, and I was having a heavy level of contact, and I was awakening on all levels. And you can see that process with me as I go forward. Certain things I had to change because new information would come out, new revelations in the ET community, especially regarding the Pelagians. I had a really anti-Pelagian stance based on the propaganda online. And that changed over time as I saw the connection with the Aboriginals and the Cherokees. That kind of opened and made me more receptive to them. It's just, what did you say? Okay, I watched one of your videos and you said you visited a cloning center. Oh, yes. Who said that to me? Tamla, pretty name. Tamla Thomas. I have to be careful with that topic. I probably could discuss it now, but after I made that video, if you notice, I don't, you probably weren't there at the time. Years ago, whoever was around at that time, I got attacked. And that was another near-death experience. I mean, that was a level where there wasn't anybody talking about that, and anybody who did was taken out. And remind you that that topic is something that you don't hear very often. And yes, I did visit. Yes, I saw and witnessed things, and I witnessed more than I detailed, which I'm grateful I never spoke about, because maybe I would have had more repercussions. So there was a consequence for me making that video. And there was 2 other videos that accompanied it that I actually took down. I think I kept them. I think they're in my archives. I kept them, but I didn't put them back up. Okay. I need some help. Please help me remember dreams. Please, Fleur, thanks. Gigi, remembering your dreams, you just have to make sure you're not smoking marijuana. Okay. Sometimes you have a lack of memory of your dreams. You got to change your nutrition. Sometimes you have muters, too many muters in your system. When you're eating things that are muters, too much dairy in your system, too much meat, because the hormones tend to block you. Too much chemicalization if you're taking aspirin or any medications that mute you. Marijuana has a tendency, if you smoke too much marijuana disallows you from remembering your dreams sometimes. You just have to change your diet, and that usually assists. I would say, be more alkaline based. Alkalinity does allow for heightened receptivity to and a remembrance of dreams. Keep electronics out of your bedroom. You shouldn't have, oh, we got Satanists on here. Big up to the Satanists who are coming in the room. We got Pole Pill. We got the Satanists who come in this room. It's so funny because I'm not anti anything, but they come in the room, they give me greetings. I say this all to say is that, listen, I am only cohesive with those beings on this planet that are in cohesion and for the betterment and for the healing and for the upholding Mother Earth in the highest and greatest standard, including all the heightened and loving beings on this planet, animals, plants, marine life, and people. So I could care what you rock. I don't care what genre you rock, but if you are disrespectful to children, animals, or people for any way that is not warranted, you aren't down with me. All right? Simple as that. Simple as that. All right, family. You smoke every day. You still, Empress, you can still dream. Some smokers don't have a problem with dreaming. Can you remember your dreams, Empress? Shugite. Oh, Shugite in the phone. Yeah. They don't sleep with electronics in your room. That disallows for you. You get low elf waves, and they like to program people at night. So they program you through your cell phone. People said, how are they controlling people? I said, through your remote control. They said, your remote control. I said, your telephone is your remote control. They control you through your remote. I could walk right outside. Listen, family, I'm going to walk outside in about 15 minutes. Everybody's going to have a cell phone. Look, everybody is going to have their remote control in their hand. Everybody. There isn't a person that you could walk around that doesn't have a remote control in their hands. That's sad. There used to be a day where you didn't have the electrical device that is causing your body harm on you. Now we walk around with these joints like if they're our life force. Oh, yeah, there's diodes. Diodes are wonderful too for the phones. Okay. You put diodes on the phone. I have shield blockers on here. Where's the other one? I don't want to take this cover off. You put the shields. I have them on my little ones stuff. Yeah, everybody. And mind you, even when you have the blockers on, they're not getting rid of all of the elf waves. They get rid of some of it. Even the best, I'll do tons of EMF stuff. Stuff I left on my things inside. I think I showed you on the other show. I put all kinds of stuff on my phones, and my other partner, he made me get remember I didn't have a TV for years because my TV blew up. I think it was like over a year. I think many of you remember. So he had me get another one because he complained that I was obsessing. He was like, I need to control my obsession with things. And he likes to watch shows. So I got another TV, and then I cover it when I'm not using it. Even though the other night I fell asleep and didn't realize I fell asleep in front of it, and I could feel a headache. Be the change. That's right. Yola Papa passing it. Wait, they're smoking in the conversation. They're Papa passing in the comment section. Y'all are out of control. Pass the ditchy from the left front side. Me say, pass the ditchy from the left front side. My love wanna play the music, make me jump around. Remember that song? Pass the ditchy from the left front side. I can't sing. Many of you know that song. That was a crazy song back in the days. I'm a smoke free. I get accused of doing drugs all the time. People come to my videos accidentally go, oh, snap, a brown woman talking about ETs. They were like, she must be on drugs. They were like, somebody came on my channel. He must have been a guy. He must have thought one of my pictures was cute. So he thought he was going to a video. I was talking about twerking or something. I was going to show my breasts. He came on the channel. He heard me talking about reptilians. He was like, where the heck did I come? Where'd I go? He was like, I'm in the wrong place. There's a brown woman talking about ETs. I messed with all his peace of mind. He actually became a really cool subscriber. He came here. He said I messed with his peace of mind. Then he said now he's got to walk around brown women thinking that they think there's ETs. I said, well, listen, I helped you out because now you can walk around knowing that some of the people, including those brown women, may not even be human. I love it. Oh, yeah, they get drugs. I was like, I don't need any drugs. If I got high family, we'd be seeing all the UFOs. Listen, I'm sober, but could you imagine FleurBrun doing drugs? I'd probably be seeing all the cloaked ships. I'd probably be doing some wild joint. They don't want me high. That darn Skippy, you don't want me high. Yeah, I'm sober. I remain sober. And when I say sober, I don't drink. And if I drink, it's like, I haven't had a drink. Remember, I've been pregnant. So I haven't had a drink for, I don't know. I don't even know. So I'm not really a social drinker. I'll drink only once in a while. Like if I go somewhere and I only like to drink one thing. So yeah, I don't really do that. Smoking, I don't smoke. But they did give me an edible one time, and I told you I lost it. I think I shared that story. I didn't know what it was, and they didn't really know it would affect me that way. But you can't give someone like me anything like that because they gave me an edible, which was a little piece of chocolate. It's called Colorado candy. I didn't know. I was going to a Halloween party, and my girlfriend, I was the designated driver, which I always am because I'm not drinking. But I was a designated driver, and they gave me a little slither of chocolate, and she said her girlfriend came from Colorado with Colorado candy. I didn't think it. She was like, "Oh, it has some marijuana in it." I'm thinking, what's the big deal about that? And it was like this small. Listen, the chocolate was like this small. It was like this small. I was like, what's the big deal? And I'm a foodie. I was like, what's it gonna do? She was like, I don't know. I bit the chocolate. Listen, I was high for 5 hours, like 6 hours. I wanted to come home. I was trying to click my heels like Dorothy. I wanted to come back. I've never in my life. That's not a drug. I don't know what that is. TLC. TC. What is it called? I don't know what was in that, but I was gone. I was dancing. I had a Congo line going at the party. I was dancing with the DJ. I had the, because I love beautiful men. I was dancing. I was on stage with the DJ. He was letting me mix. And then I had all the security guards doing the Congo line with me. You don't need to get me high. That was crazy. She said, oh my gosh, we shouldn't have given it to you. I was like, no, don't give me drugs. I don't know what that is. I was high for 5 hours. I was trying to come back home. That's crazy. I don't know what y'all do. That's the kind of drug. I don't know what kind of edible. That it was a little piece of chocolate. That's crazy that y'all get high like that. That's not even a healthy high. I mean, I'm not saying that I wasn't fun, but that wasn't a high I liked. I didn't even like being that way. I didn't like, you said before carnival. Oh, if I do that before carnival, the carnival's going to keep going. Yeah, it wasn't cool though, because at the end of the night, I couldn't get out of it. Because remember, you're talking about somebody who has a clean palate. I'm drug-free, I'm alcohol-free, I don't eat GMO foods. So I didn't have any muters in my body, and it wasn't right for them to do. She didn't know it would do that to me, but that wasn't right because when I took it, I didn't have anything in my body to kind of help it move along my system. There wasn't anything to block it. So my whole system took it in, and it kind of took over. So it wasn't healthy for me. I didn't agree with that. I won't do it again. I didn't know what it was really. She didn't really know. It was edible candy. Girlfriend part of they in Colorado, apparently they got pop rocks with THC in it. They got lollipops with THC in it. That's crazy. And then you make it for like children. I don't agree with that. I don't think you should make candy out of drugs because then you make it something healthy for children to do. You know what I mean? Because next thing you know, you have your children go out, their friends are diabolical and they give them something like that. And you have a child who goes to the ER. That's crazy. Yeah, you have to be I'm an adult and I'm grateful my girlfriends took care of me. But, you don't do something like that and you don't create drugs into candy. You see what happens when the government gets a hand of drugs? You had street people selling marijuana in bags for years. You didn't see them making it into candy. How many times did people used to buy dime bags and nickel bags? They didn't have them in candy. Now that the government has a chance to get involved in it, look what they do to it. They totally GMO it and homogenize it. Now they got it in candy. And then they talk about, oh, why are children doing drugs? You're making drugs into Pop Rocks and lollipops. Who does that? Who are you trying to promote that to? Adults or children? Come on now. So really, that pisses me off because I remember back in the days, my homeboy was buying dime bags of regular weed. You smell the marijuana, it was strong. It smelled like a herb. This joint don't even have a scent and people are going to Mars on it. Come on now. It's crazy. This world is sick. That's why we have to change we got to stop promoting Hollyweird. We need to do our own things. And if you're going to grow if you're going to chief, because I got to watch my words. If you're going to chief and you're going to do those things, grow your own. And if you grow your own, try to get the heirloom seeds. And I know people who have heirloom seeds. Just saying. That's what I'm saying. Don't take what other people give you. You don't know. I don't know you. I don't know you. I knew my girlfriend. She didn't even know what that was. Don't be giving me edibles. High for 5 hours on a piece of a candy. That is crazy. And you know how chunky I am. I'm fluffy. And it affected me. Could you imagine somebody who weighed like 100 pounds? Her getting high on that one piece of chocolate bar? She might go to the hospital. Oh, wait. Loud smells that skunk is addictive. I don't care what anyone says. Yo, they started making, ever since the government started to take control of marijuana, everybody, you got K2. I went to New York City, dudes are zombied out. The zombie apocalypse is in New York. You see people zoned out. I mean, at least with crack, they looked like they were somewhat there, just passed out. Now this one's a walking zombies. Crack, they would just be on the ground. They weren't moving. Now K2 has them like contorting their bodies and rolling, doing weird things or falling asleep like that. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Don't let the government have control over what you do. And if you don't know what they're doing, don't participate in it. You don't need to do drugs. If you're healthy, you get high off life. Messing with the controllers. Yeah, Mary Jane is dangerous. Confirm that how Mary Jane. Yeah, that's crazy. I remember I was young and nobody would let me. That's how you know, that's probably why I don't do any drugs now, but they wouldn't let me touch marijuana when I was young. The first time I ever engaged in chiefing was probably in my 20s because everybody was scared. They already thought I was a little wild. I think that's why people knew I was already wild. They didn't even want to be the first person to introduce me to any gateways. So the first time I tried chiefing was in my 20s. And all it did was make us laugh and want to eat. That's all it did. All we did was laugh and freeze and want to eat. It's not good for your diet, though. If you want to shed some pounds, if you smoke it every day, I don't know how that could be helpful, especially the stuff back in the days. Maybe the stuff nowadays may not make you eat, but back you eat the whole fridge. Everything, right, Empress? Everything tastes good. It's like being pregnant. When you're pregnant, when you like something when you're pregnant, you want to eat it every day. I did it. Yeah, it's crazy. What are we talking about? Bigfoot. Did you see Bigfoot when you were high? Did you see Bigfoot? That's the problem. If you see Bigfoot when you're not sober, I don't know what that experience would be like for you. People watching Bigfoot. You probably just freeze. You see Bigfoot. Oh, RH? What about the RH? Okay. I tried to see Bigfoot when I was high. The Lake Tahoe. My uncle, who's like a black-footed Indian, my uncle Stefan, y'all met it. Well, remember I did the interview with my grandma? He was there. My uncle talked about hearing Bigfoot when he was out on the lake. He fishes and all that stuff. He's one of those, he looks like a big, huge, like native. You'd think he was straight out of the like out of the past Indian. He looked like a straight indigenous, like out there. So he was out there and he heard this howling sound and he was on the lake by himself and he heard it. And then he heard everything get quiet and he's never heard that before. And then there were also, when he heard it that day, he also had accounts that same day, there were other fishermen saying that they witnessed a Bigfoot in that area. That was in Westchester County, Putnam County and Westchester County in New York. That was like when I was there in New York over the Christmas vacation. Remember? He heard it. Okay, so RHGM. Okay, RH is, what is RH? Is it GMO or higher than O plus? RH factor is your rhesus. Your RH factor is your rus. So if your rus is either your O positive, O negative, AB, B, A, those are all part, your rus. Genetically modified people can be, now you get in that conversation, you're going to get homogenized people that come from mostly the negative roost. Now, you got to be careful with that because you have heirlooms in the negative roost too. So you have ET hybrid people that come from galactic people. So most of the galactic lineage will come out with the negative roost, especially if they've not been here. They're the newer beings on the planet. But also you will get all clones come out with roost negative. So that's why I say be careful, because you can't lump everybody together. Someone said, negatives can't be cloned. You're right. Negative, the original clones the originals cannot be cloned, but when you clone an original, it will come out negative roost. That's all I'm saying. There isn't a positive roost that comes out cloned. The only clones that would usually come out, they all synthetic, all of their blood types will come out negative roost. But you got to be, like I said, you have to be careful because all of the negative roosts are also galactic beings. So just be mindful of that. Positives are people origins are from here, or long enough, the ETs that came here and colonized, they've been here for eons. It's just you're more heirloom to this planet, so to speak. Negative roost means most likely you weren't for here, whether you've been cloned or whether you're galactic, but you will have that same roost. So if you're a B negative, you could have been homogenized from galactics, or if you're a B negative, you could have been cloned. Because clones come out with negative roosts. Everybody talks about all the presidents. All the presidents have negative roosts, but you call them clones. So which is it? Because, some people be like, there's no such thing as negative clone. Yes, because you call all of them are negative. All of the clones are negative. That's all. But all the galactic beings, most of the galactics are negative too. So you can't really break that apart until you know their whole background, the synopsis of how they came about, I can know a little bit more about you when you're negative. Like, mating with a negative can upgrade a status of a galactic, can upgrade a baby to a galactic status, allow them more expressions of intel in their genomes. What do I mean by that? So information comes in the genetics in your DNA. So if I'm an O positive, I try to do this. I'm an O positive. I told you, I only mate with OGs. I only mate with men that are O's. That's all I do. I'm smart enough to know that now. Before, when I was younger, I may not have known that. I know that now. But if I mate with an O negative and I have a child, I have his offspring, I have more of an opportunity of giving my offspring more codes, because now I can give the codes that I don't have, because I'm an expression of a being from the earth plane. This is my home from generations. That's why I have positive. But when I mate with an O negative and I give birth to a child, I gain some of the genetic, the DNA that allows me to get codes, galactic codes. I think it's wonderful. So, but that's only as a female. I can give birth to as an O positive, I can have a child with an O negative male and give birth to a child without shots or anything. But an O negative female cannot give birth to an O positive child without having something to assist the pregnancy and disallow it from throwing out the baby, okay, or killing the baby off. Okay, so if you're O positive, you can mate with an O negative, and would be beneficial to you genetic wise and DNA wise. That child will have more expressions and more knowledge and more opportunity of having more expressions in their genomes that are more connected to the galactics. Okay, A positives, B positives, all the A's and B's, it's the same thing. You just follow your roosts though. So if A positive, you should mate with another A, or you can mate with an AB. Now, if you mate with an O, it upgrades you, because that's an heirloom. So it is beneficial. I talked about this yesterday. It's beneficial to mate as an A, B, B with an OG, because OGs are the heirlooms. They're the hubs. You want to mate with them because it is beneficial to your children. Actually, they'll have less genetic abnormalities if you mate with hubs. Okay, those are heirlooms. But the downplay of that is O will be depreciative if they mate with a subsidiary like an A and AB. Why? Is because you feed off of an O. O can't feed off of you because you come from they're the hub. So you don't give anything to them, but they give to you. So it's not there's no reciprocity. You know what I mean? You gotta be careful with that. I'm AB negative and my mate is O negative. Oh, so AB, Kristen. So you benefit. AB, you benefit from being with an O. And if your child comes out O, means you upgraded your DNA to your offspring. That's an upgrade because you want children that are O's. Those are the originals. That's why they call OGs. I call them OGs. That's just my term. I call them OGs. So those are originals. So you want to mate with, you want to upgrade the ABs and Bs, A's. That's an upgrade. And that's my opinion based on my studies in genetics. It's just what it is. You'll see that O's are more regenerative. They live a little longer and they age less. Okay. They just do. B's, A's, and B's are beautiful because a lot of them come from like the Asiatic. You'll see a lot of ABs come from the Asiatic or native indigenous background. So when I see people with a lot of the ABs, a lot of indigenous, a lot of Eastern Europeans sometimes come out with the B's, the B negatives, things like that. Well, my boyfriend is a B and I'm a O. Well, Kay, you got to protect. Remember we talked about that, Kay. You got to protect your energy. It's going to feed off of you. And, when you physically engage with him, you'll notice that. You will notice it more so after you have sexual engagement with him. You might feel drained because he will pull from you. It's not, I mean, you can regenerate yourself, but just know that that's what happens. Don't break up with him, Kay, and say it was me. Don't you dare break up with your boyfriend, Kay, and say, well, FleurBrun said that you're a parasite and you're taking from me and I can't be with you. Please don't do that, Kay. Don't do it. Love him. If he's good to you and you love him, you do what you do. I just give you some information that helps. It's nice to get information from people who study genetics and heredity because it just gives you extra. As someone said, Ron, but I've learned now that I've learned is better, you do better. Like now, my previous mate was a B. He fed off of me and I would feel degenerative and also I would get sick. So also you'll know right away because usually you get physical symptoms as soon as you're having sex with someone that they're depreciating you. But once I got with an OG, my gosh. And the one time I made it with the O negative, I felt like I was flying to the stars. I made it with the O negative and it was amazing. It was absolutely, I actually got codes from him. I made it with, my O positive is wonderful and it's amazing, but my O negative, because remember, I didn't have a chance to really date anything. So I didn't really get an opportunity to really sow my oats. So I never really got a chance to mate with many. So I don't think it's negative, but I just didn't have an opportunity to really know what was going on. But when I made it with the O negative, he upgraded me. You could feel it in my DNA after we would engage with one another physically. And I thought it was amazing. So, it was something that I knew was true. A lot of times you can have these theories, but you can't really know that they're true until you vet them out, After I vetted it out, hold on, let me get rid of some of these people in here. Who are you? Go away. I don't know what your agenda is. Bye. There you go. And like I said, don't only listen to me, go look at your research. I just know what I'm talking about in certain ways because I did a lot of unorthodox research and I kind of experimented on myself a little bit. So same thing happened to me. He drained me and kept me sick. I'm just saying I always tell you not to fall in love with them, right? That's why I tell you first. So if you know that that's a possibility, you can kind of get rid of that option by not engaging with men of that demographic. There are listen, you know how many A's and B's want to mate with me? There's a lot of A's and B's. There's a lot of A's, handsome, sexy, just amazing. Big up to all my A's and B's. There's a lot of them, but I just say, I'm not disrespecting them, but I only tell them, I said, I only mate with O's. And I asked them and I asked for proof of their DNA. I don't mate with that many people. I told you I only had one husband for 18 years and one boyfriend before him. So afterwards, I've only had one main partner after and one subsidiary one, and that was the O negative. And I asked them, I will only engage with O's. That's the only way that he even gets in the door. There's other criteria after that. There's more, but I will only mate with an O because I know that I want to uphold myself. And also I know he'll regenerate me. I can regenerate him. He can regenerate me. It's a healthier exchange. So as long as he's healthy, you know what I mean? Chicken, I'm chicken, I'm chicken. Okay, fam. Hold on, family. Okay, don't know what that is. Please stay calm and cool and conscious. Okay, I'll stay calm and cool. My husband doesn't know his blood type, but sex gives me energy, and I'm an A. He's probably a no. He could be an O. He could be an AB. He could be an A. I'm 50 and look 35. Harley, yeah. Well, O's don't ages. O's age slower. O's age slower. O's have the more regenerative quality about them. O's will be the type of person that could grow another limb. That's an heirloom. They just have the capability. Because they're hubs. They're the heirlooms. They haven't been. Their bloodline has not been really as much homogenized. Okay, so it's just like an heirloom plant. You know, when you're growing, many of you who are agriculturists, you know this. When I grow my heirloom plants, they're more resilient. When I grow my plants that have been genetically homogenized the seeds, they are affected like temperature differences. If there's a little frost, they'll die. My heirloom seeds, those suckers are resilient. Excuse my language. They're resilient. Is your blood type on your birth certificate? No, only if you're post 50. If you're post 50, I think some of y'all had your blood type on your birth certificate. I think that's only ones who did. I'm RH negative, A negative. I'm an heirloom. I'm RH negative, A. I'm an heirloom. If you're A, what do you mean you're A? Depends on environment. Yeah. My husband is both. My husband and I are both O positive. I do feel energy. I do feel my energy depleted after relations. Not sure why. Well, it could be a vibrational thing too. Okay. Don't just take one aspect. I'm sharing one aspect. There's other things. Like if someone is not doing healthy things, or they have, they're more parasitic. Some people are more vampiric. Some people feed and they don't even know they're vampires. You have people that you're engaged with, they're more vampiric. So you may have somebody that you're engaged with and they're pullers, natural vampires, and they feed off of you. You got to be careful with those. Or you have friends, you got to be careful with friends too. You have energy vampires, and then you have energetic dumpers. You have energetic dumpers. Those are the ones who call you on the phone and tell you everything wrong that happened with their life, and they feel better at the end of the call and you feel like garbage. Those are energetic dumpers. You got to avoid those people. Same with energy vampires, who are always feeding off of you. They use you as a muse, so they energetically feed off of your musing. So you'll have people that are inspired by you and take everything that you are and your essence and use it to propel their lives. The energy dumpers and vampires are just as damaging. So you have to be aware of who you're around. And if some people want to feed them. I'm not saying some people like feeding the pigeons. Some people like feeding the alligators. You may be the type of person that, you have a little extra, you want to feed them. That's up to you. What blood type is healthy for B? Bs. Bs are healthy for Bs. ABs are good for you as well. You're fine with ABs. O positive, but I drain who I mate with. Why is that? You might be feeding. You might be more Nardo. You might be more vampiric. You might feed. You might be a feed. You might be an alpha too. We got all kinds of things that can happen too. You could be you could come from a bloodline of more aggressive type of beings that feed. You might be more vampiric. Could be an alpha. Alphas tend to do that too. Alpha females. Alpha females like to feed off males, especially betas. Okay, Fleur. Oh, give blood. You can take others' donation. AB positive. My first test, I was negative. Maybe a mistake though. Sweetie C, I don't know. They have all these baits and switches. I don't trust them. I would just nonchalantly get your blood test, but I would get it done professionally, because the one I was recommending for you guys to buy, you have to read it and observe it. Unless you worked in a laboratory and you could read results, it wouldn't be good for most of you. So I would say just tell your doctor to test you. Tell them, listen, I want to get my, a good healthy. If you have a good doctor who's cool like that, say, listen, I want to know my blood type. If you got a a-hole as a doctor who wouldn't even give you a blood type, I say you change your internist, your general internist. If you have a doctor who you say you want to know your blood type and he's a resilient against you, that's not a doctor you should have as your general internist. You need to change your doctor. All right, family, my alarm went off. I got a boogie. It was beautiful talking to many of you. I hope it was enlightening, and I hope we share things. And again, don't ever take anything I say at face value. Always vet out everything I say. I say this to you so that you are utilizing your discernment. You know, I may look sweet and kind and trustworthy, but you don't know that I am. And I want you to vet out the things that I share with you so that you can verify and you yourself can hold your own truth. Okay. So those are the things that I just share with you just to allow for the intel that I would like to exchange. So hopefully it was helpful and beautiful. Okay. So I will talk to you, family, later. I'm back. I told you I was going to come back with some intel. I hope it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful future for us. And we're going to start creating things on our own, doing things for ourselves, and being more less codependent and more independent and more involved in the unity consciousness that we want to see. We're going to be the change we're going to see in the world. So, all right, family, I'm out of here. I'm going to go and have a wonderful, masterful, amazing weekend and a wonderful manifestation of whatever you desire. I hope that for all. All right. Peace.